Hello, my fellow Marks, and welcome to the Mark Remark, guaranteed to be at least as underwhelming as a kennel in a cell match. My name's not Martin. I'm handsome, I'm brave, I'm strong. My name's not Martin, and I enforce the law. You can try to run, but you can never hide. This month's pay-per-view was the dread-inducing, hellacious, almost unwatchable Hell in a Cell. And that's just talking about the Divas match. Who better to introduce the sick and twisted steel chamber that has put many a wrestler into the hospital and even more into early retirement than the adorable Renee Young.
The most devastating structure in the history of WWE.
Oh, I just want to snuggle up in there and go to sleep. It's time once again for the traditional Blithering Idiot panel, featuring the following blitherers. Renee Young, the bell in a cell. Booker T, the dupe in the group. Byron Saxton, the rhyming word in the rhyming word. And Corey Graves, the lewd, crude, rude bag of pre-chewed food dude. Byron Saxton establishes early on the important detail as to whether or not he's wearing a fucking tie.
Tonight, just like my tie knot, it's gonna be huge.
Now, there's a man who knows if he's wearing a tie. Booker T tells us what to expect.
Tonight we will witness the thrill of victory as well as the agony of defeat. Somebody is going to get hurt in the cell.
Yes, Booker. At some point, people will indeed win or lose. It's a bold prediction. Let's see if it pans out. Tom Phillips is hiding from the school bullies in the social media lounge. Later on, he'll be talking to and or having his lunch money stolen by the Dudley Boys. Renee smiles and nods and asks for everybody's opinion on the Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar match. Corey Graves chimes in and says he thinks that tonight will be the last time we ever see the Undertaker in a WWE ring. And given the fact that this particular pay-per-view is littered with promos for Survivor Series saying that the Undertaker will be there, I'd say that's a sure bet, Mr. Graves. It's right up there with Booker T's sometimes people will win and sometimes they will lose gambit. Byron Saxton promotes an underrated 90s comedy starring Martin Lawrence and Tim Robbins.
When you take everything from a man, that man fights with nothing to lose.
Booker T quotes Muhammad Ali.
It's going to be a chiller of a thriller when I get the gorilla in Manila.
Yes, because while that event saw the brutal beatdown of Joe Frazier by Muhammad Ali, this event will see the brutal beatdown of the English language by Booker T.
I cannot wait to see how it play out. It's going to be good.
We're going to see those two warriors, but we also have...
And they said dropping out of kindergarten was a bad idea. Schools is for idiots. In an earlier interview, Roman Reigns says that he prepared for his match with Bray Wyatt tonight by studying Rikishi's experiences in the unforgiving steel structure. Yes, Rikishi, whose experience in the Hell in a Cell match was so brutalizing to himself that he forgot who Grandmaster Sexay and Scotty 2 Hotty were in his Hall of Fame acceptance speech. Those head injuries, man, they mess you up. Michael Cole pretends that he didn't wet himself while interviewing Bray Wyatt. Bray describes his favorite Dark Tower book, Wizard and Glass.
It's a story of two broken down, beaten up gunslingers walking up opposite sides of the hill for the last time.
He also promotes classic RPG video games.
I know what torment is.
Renee Young once again emphasizes the horror that these two men are set to face.
I mean, it's a terrifying situation for either one of them.
Yeah, it's a terrifying situation. Probably won't be that big a deal. IDK. Sigmund Book psychoanalyzes Bray Wyatt.
That can either make you crazy or it can make you a madman. I picked the latter of the two.
Well, with that kind of redundant talk, Booker T belongs in a mental institute. Either that or a sanatorium. And I pick the latter of the two.
Right there, going into a match like this, fighting for family or being on that side, I'm going to pick being on Bray Wyatt's side tonight.
Right, and that makes sense, what with all the vague bullshit you just said. It totally checks out. Corey Graves has had his eyes closed for the last year or so.
We haven't seen what Bray Wyatt's capable of all on his own in quite some time.
You know, unless you were actually watching the Royal Rumble, or WrestleMania, or any of his single matches with Roman Reigns. But why would you want to do that? Renee Young asks Booker T a direct question about professional wrestling, which causes him to go into a panic until the Staples Center crowd gives him an orgasm.
These guys are going to be out here by themselves fighting one-on-one, mano and mano. And like I always say, it's going to be good. Listen to the people. Listen
it's
to them.
It's all going to be going down. We're breaking down.
I, for one, also cannot achieve climax unless the entire Staples Center is watching me. The kickoff show is sponsored by something that totally isn't gambling and is totally legal. Don't question it. Backstage, JoJo interviews John Cena, who is so determined to plug the WWE Network that his sentences fold inwards on themselves.
A lot of firsts tonight on the WWE Network after Hell in a Cell on the WWE Network.
John Cena is possessed by early 90s Ricky Steamboat.
I'm going right out there breathing fire and looking for a fight.
John Cena then adds even more weight to tonight's event by quoting the Ballad of Ricky Bobby.
So I'd like to steal a quotation from famous thespian Gary Cole. If you ain't first, you're last.
Ah yes, just like right before his boot camp match with the Iron Sheik, where Sergeant Slaughter quoted fucking Elf. Renee Young is confused, but pretty.
That is a pumped up
Yeah.
John Cena. You ain't first, you're last. That is a great quote.
Yes, that is a great quote that John Cena totally made up just now. So inspirational. Fucking Will Ferrell fucking movies. The loosely termed experts weigh in on John Cena's United States Open Challenge.
So many critics will say, oh, he doesn't know who his partner's going to be. He's at a disadvantage.
As opposed to just saying boo, like they usually do. Corey Graves suggests that an NXT superstar could answer the call of John Cena's Open Challenge, and when asked for a name, he responds,
Baron Corbin.
no, a good name. Booker T thinks he's at the Royal Rumble.
Tonight is the night of unexpected entries.
Kevin Owens cuts a promo outside the Staples Center and commits the most treasonous act of all time by insulting sports teams everywhere, not just the local ones.
I actually don't follow sports. I actually think sports are kind of stupid.
Kevin Owens, basically Hitler. Kevin Owens talks shit about Ryback, saying he'll beat him with the one thing that he has that Ryback doesn't. Ability? A tolerable catchphrase? An outfit that doesn't look like it was rejected from a 1980s exercise video? A lack of being compared to Goldberg? A tendency to not almost murder CM Punk? Oh no, it's his brain. That's a bit rude. Kevin Owens says that not only will he walk out of the building tonight the Intercontinental Champion, but he will walk out as the King of Los Angeles. Congratulations, Kevin. I think you found the one title that would mean even less than being Intercontinental Champion. Booker T coins the wrestling equivalent of no homo.
I like Kevin Owens. He has captivated my heart from an in-ring perspective.
I would kiss Kevin Owens full on the mouth. From an in-ring perspective. Corey Graves compares Ryback's reliance on the self-help book The Secret to sticking your head in the sand and pretending that nothing's wrong. On an unrelated note, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the Divas Revolution. Renee Young talks about the Charlotte versus Nikki match and mentions that this time there will be nobody allowed at ringside. But how are the Divas supposed to revolutionize things when there aren't at least a dozen of them standing nearby getting lost in the shuffle? This makes no sense. I question the booking here. Byron Saxton does a good job analyzing Charlotte's chances.
If she can strip away all the excess, all the distractions, and Charlotte leaves here tonight, still your diva.
Which could be
Unfortunately for Byron, Vince listened to everything he said up to the word strip. Booker T compares Charlotte's work ethic to Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey thrive under pressure. No matter what's a movie going on, commercial, she still come out there and make you tap out.
Even if it's a soap commercial, she'll run out and beat you to a bloody pulp. And then you'll have something to clean up with the soap. There's actually a very effective marketing campaign. The WWE unveils the newest entrant to the Divas Revolution.
I'm gonna kick some ass!
Well, to be fair, Betty White was alive during the actual American Revolution, so she might have a few pointers. Next up, the experts talk nonsense about the WWE title match between Seth Rollins and Dean Cain.
The Authority does not want to see Demon Kane as the WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
Yes, that must be why they specifically booked this match and then threatened to fire Kane if he didn't win. Because they don't want him to. Right. Corey Graves rides Seth Rollins' cock.
We're going to need a new director of operations.
What's that in your pocket?
Is that the Seth Rollins fan club membership card?
Don't touch me. I'm campaigning.
Is that a Seth Rollins fan club membership card in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? From an in-ring perspective, of course. Everyone laughs and is amused by Corey Graves' antics, and then Booker T gets fucking pissed.
Look, man, this is not time for you to, try to get a job, all right? Keep the one you got right now before you end up getting fired.
What even just happened? Before Booker T has a chance to murder Corey Graves in a fit of rage, we go to a bunch of people that you wish would be murdered. Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, and JBL are at ringside for a 6-man tag featuring a bunch of people who deserve better. Also Sheamus. Michael Cole mentions Tyler Breeze's cameo on SmackDown last week, which somehow seems like a downgrade from the WWE's developmental division. Poor Tyler. Going from NXT to SmackDown, he must have pissed someone off bad. Sheamus has successfully achieved Avatar state. Lillian Garcia's cartography skills are somewhat lacking. Ah yes, Dublin, England, where they brew the traditional beer Ginningtons. Neville hits an enziguri, which causes the commentary team to transform into a David Lynch film.
Neville with an enziguri right to the back of the neck. That's like an old rabbit punch, wasn't it, JBL? Yes, it was. Problem is, rabbits don't have a mohawk.
Yes, that is the only problem with rabbits. Their choice in hairstyle. Also, yes, that kick was a lot like a punch. There is a commercial for Breaking Ground during the match, a show that focuses on a group of wrestlers as they train very hard to one day be able to have their matches also interrupted by a commercial. Sheamus hits Ziggler with a suplex, or as it's more accurately described by Jerry Lawler,
that wasn't so much a suplex, that was just, let me get you up here and throw you down as hard as I can.
And that wasn't so much commentary as it was me just spewing out a bunch of redundant phrases that add literally nothing to the proceedings. Cesaro gets the hot tag, uppercuts everybody in the match, high-fives the entire crowd, and then discovers a cheap and efficient alternate energy source to fossil fuels, but he's from Switzerland so nobody gives a shit. Cesaro gets Wade Barrett in the big swing, which gets JBL's gander up.
You wouldn't do this to Prince Charles, would you?
True, his ears would make the swinging rather difficult. He's not very aerodynamic with those huge things. Also, I fucking would.
There's no clue where he is!
It's called the mid-card. I suggest making friends with it. The team with the most underutilized talent gets the win. I'll let you decide which one that is. It's not the one with Sheamus. Vince McMahon watches this match and decides that Dan is more over than Cesaro. Tom Phillips needs an adult.
What you guys did to the Dudley Boys, John Cena had
the Dudley Boys?
Had done to the New Day, excuse me.
After they take his lunch money, Tom Phillips tries appeasing the school bullies by using popular street lingo such as radical man and tubular, and
then you guys would super bomb Xavier Woods through a table. Proud of your handiwork?
Absolutely. It's a super bomb.
Speaking of a super bomb, this segment, Devon helps Tom Phillips with a particularly difficult math homework problem.
Can you say 10 times?
10 times, you're right.
Good job, Tommy! All that Sesame Street finally paid off. WrestleMania tickets are on sale November 6th. Also available is a bonus package where you can have a meet and greet with the WrestleMania sign. Hell in a Cell begins proper with the dramatic voiceover guy.
Hell comes in many forms.
For example, if you boil hell at 100 degrees, it turns into steam. That's hell science.
It all ends in hell.
Oh, never knew the WWE was such a firm believer in the Old Testament. Then again, everything else in this company is old, so why should their testaments be any different? Speaking of hell, the generic mess of video game features that is WWE 2K16 sponsors this Pavovnya. The WWE fans have arrived in droves to witness the culmination of one of the most heated rivalries in the past 10 years. Seto Kaiba versus Glass of Milk. Unfortunately for these sign havers, the match had to be cut from the pay-per-view. But if it did happen, I'm sure Kaiba would say something hilarious, like, "Screw the milk, I'm lactose intolerant." You know, something fucking hilarious like that. Have I really been saying that for the last 10 years? I wish you were fucking lying. Speaking of horribly outdated memes, John Cena is here to issue his US title open challenge. Also here are popular wrestling sensations Sofia Vergara and Joe Manganiello. And if you don't know who they are, JBL helpfully explains.
The werewolf in the Modern Family!
Right, I almost forgot that Sofia Vergara played the entire Modern Family, much like when David Schwimmer played the entire cast of Friends in the show Friends. It was a very depressing series. John Cena, much like Skynet shortly before destroying all of humanity, becomes self-aware.
I had a horribly long and boring dissertation plan, but I say we get down to business right now!
With a horribly long and boring wrestling match instead. Yay! Zeb Coulter shocks everybody by having relevance to an ongoing storyline.
You know, John Cena, if that is your real name.
What a silly thing to say! Of course John Cena is his real name. And of course he isn't really an elder being called John Senile Arathotep, who eventually will destroy all of humanity and save only those loyal to him. That would be silly. Zeb Coulter brings out Alberto Del Rio to answer John Cena's open challenge, and the commentary team have totally believable and not at all comically exaggerated reactions to this.
Alberto Del Rio!
I wonder where Alberto's been this whole time. I've been luching for him everywhere. Could have been underground for all I know. The crowd chants "See, see, see" for Del Rio, but unfortunately for him, he can't see John Cena. Del Rio ruins John Cena like he's a non-profit charity event. Meanwhile, JBL is updating his Netflix queue.
He would cash in to win the championship at SummerSlam 28 days later.
Michael Cole lists all the people that Del Rio has put away with his cross-arm breaker. But unfortunately for us, they haven't been on TV in the last 10 minutes, so we don't know who the fuck any of them are. Del Rio kicks John Cena in the head and takes the title. Wait, what? That's it? There haven't even been like 12 finishers yet. How am I supposed to trust this is the end of the match unless somebody has done their finisher 3 times? Jerry Lawler proves he's still hip with the kids these days by making reference to 1930s book series Ripley's Believe It or Not. Speaking of being completely out of touch, Triple H and Stephanie are backstage with Seth Rollins. Seth Suckings rolls up to Triple H, and then Corporate Kane arrives to let everybody know that today he went to the stock exchange and did a business. The ring crew starts setting up their giant game of mousetrap, and then JBL quotes Winston Churchill, which means he's actually quoting John Cena, because now all quotes are attributed to him. Bray Wyatt comes out dressed as Immortan Joe, while the announcers continually insist that he's afraid of Roman Reigns. Yes, Bray Wyatt, the man who spent 2 months challenging The Undertaker and then adopted the name The New Face of Fear, is deathly afraid of the kind of big guy with sweaty face and hair. Although, to be fair to Bray, Roman's promos are the stuff nightmares are made of. Before the match, Roman tweeted, "The talking is done, now it's time to do the walking." It sounds very intense until you realize that Roman was just live tweeting his marathon of The Talking Dead followed by The Walking Dead. JBL's Netflix queue continues to grow.
They've got butterflies the size of pterodactyls.
Roman and Bray brawl inside the steel structure, and the announcers reflect on Roman's various attempts to claim the WWE title.
And all that momentum, all that great Royal Rumble that the Roman Reigns had?
Yes. Let's look back on all that great Royal Rumble that Roman had.
Roman Reigns! Roman Reigns has won the Royal Rumble!
All that great memories. The combatants bring out all kinds of weaponry, such as kendo sticks and steel chairs, which are totally okay in this match. Speaking of things that shouldn't be legal, Jerry Lawler listens to some of his late 90s commentary.
Here comes that perverted imagination, guys.
Bray snaps a kendo stick using Roman's head, but unfortunately for him, Roman is fluent in wooden dialogue, so all the kendo sticks unite to help him. Upon seeing Roman Reigns dual-wielding kendo sticks, Michael Cole says this.
No! Double special!
Yes, Michael, you are double special. I'd even go as far as to say that you're triple special. Roman brings out a table, but then makes a bold declaration.
One ain't enough.
We need 2 tables.
Make sure that they turn, and don't forget a microphone. Bray drives Roman through his own table, and while the announcers scramble to describe this intense violence, Jerry Lawler begins passing a kidney stone.
This is incredible. Roman is just spiked!
The fans rally support for Roman Reigns. Good job, WWE Universe. You just christened the new John Cena. Our blood is on your hands. Bray and Roman wind up on the apron, and out of nowhere, Roman spears Bray through a table on the outside. Except it would have been out of nowhere, except the cameraman gave the table its very own close-up right before the spot happened. In his defense, he probably thought he was filming Roman Reigns. Bray threatens to impale Roman on the kendo sticks, but Roman is too double special to let that happen, so he reverses it and then hits Bray with a spear, picking up the win. What an exciting match that showcased both men's talents. Now, why couldn't they have done that the last 200 times they faced off this year? There is a commercial for The Condemned 2 starring Randy Orton, or as it's known by its full title, The Condemned to be put in the 3 for $20 aisle at your local HMV shop. Hell in a Cell comes to you live from Los Angeles, because what better represents being trapped inside a steel structure with no means of escape than LAX? Mark Wahlberg is watching the pay-per-view live because he just had to know if anybody could put on a less believable performance than he did in The Happening. Speaking of ludicrous performances, the New Day pretend to be unicorns. Sorry, no, it's still more believable than Mark Wahlberg talking to a potted plant. The Dudley Boys come out and give each other high fives while playing jump rope, just like the classic Dudley Boys of old. Meanwhile, Jerry Lawler and JBL get into a heated argument about unicorns. What?
Don't mock unicorns. Oh, come on, JBL. Everybody knows unicorns don't exist, just like their tag team championships won't exist after the Dudleys get through with them.
So the belts will just cease to exist when they lose the match. Well, that sounds ludicrous, but the same thing happened to the Intercontinental title in the early 2000s. Nobody's seen it since. The two teams go at it, and David Lynch reprises his role as director of commentary.
Let's call it getting jiggy. We used to do that all the time in Sweetwater, Texas. I can't imagine seeing you do that. Unicorns?
Yes, but would the unicorns have mohawks? Then, mercifully, the commentary returns to normalcy.
Bubba get jiggy, jiggy, jiggy! Come on, Diva! Here we go! Do that! What's that?
I feel like I would have an easier time understanding the Spanish commentary team. Kofi Kingston pays homage to Eddie Guerrero by pretending to be hit by a foreign object. Meanwhile, Bubba Ray pays homage to Chavo Guerrero Jr. by fading into obscurity in front of our very eyes. The New Day pick up the win over the Dudley Boys, who react the same way that the Dudleys of old would, by apologizing profusely to their opponents and taking up the hobby of scrapbooking. A commercial for WWE 2K16 features a number of superstars gathering around a campfire and throwing things into it. Speaking of that, what you should do to WWE 2K16. There is a video montage centering on Nikki Bella's record-breaking title reign. Record-breaking in that over 1 billion piss takes were taken during it. That's a lot of piss. Even the internet doesn't produce that much when they're pissing and moaning about it. The video package focuses on all the highlights of the Divas Revolution, including this.
You can't win the championship by pinning someone who wasn't even in the match pre-Bella.
But apparently you can further a storyline by featuring somebody who isn't even involved, Steph McMahon. Next, it's the Divas title match between Charlotte and Nikki Bella, where the stipulation is that nobody is allowed at ringside. So the entire crowd leaves. Oh no, I'm sorry, that part is perfectly normal for a Divas match. The announcers point out that Nikki is at a disadvantage here, as without Brie Bella at ringside, she can't use twin magic, or as Michael Cole would call it,
double special!
Charlotte uses knife-edge chops on Nikki because she is her own person and not eternally connected to a retired male wrestler. Jerry Lawler is paying about as much attention to this match as the rest of us.
Hey guys, did you just notice what happened up on the upper portion of your screen? Charlotte went...
Nikki goes to hit a top rope, huh? But Charlotte counters it into a what? Nikki Alabama slams Charlotte into the apron, resulting in perhaps the first ever recorded holy shit chant in a Divas match. Aside from the time when Stacy Keibler mud wrestled Dawn Marie and the crowd chanted, "Holy shit, how does this pass for wrestling?" Roman Reigns is backstage checking the condition of his smugness, and then Dean Ambrose comes in and gets a bigger fan response than Roman did the entire night it just by walking into the room. Inexplicably popular ginger nut Seth Green, creator of Robot Chicken and Camp WWE, is in the crowd. Also in the audience is Max Landis, creator of an actually entertaining wrestling thing. Why they're hanging out is anybody's guess. The WWE title match is up next for some reason, but that's okay, it didn't even want to be the main event, so whatever. Seth Facings rolls off with Kane and insists that he's not afraid of him, which would explain why he spent the better part of the last 2 months running away from him in fear. But that's okay, because this moment is what people will remember, not all of that. Seth Takings rolls it to Demon Kane, prompting the announcers to speak on his opponent.
Demon Kane doesn't have much patience.
Ah yes, one of the most memorable personality traits of Demon Kane. His impatience. He's a demon because he gets very antsy while waiting for an Amazon delivery. Kane goes for a chokeslam, which Seth counters into a pedigree, which Kane counters into a chokeslam, which Seth counters into a pedigree, which Kane counters into a chokegree, which Seth counters into a pedislam, which Tom Phillips counters into a super bomb, which Michael Cole counters into a double special, which JBL counters into a digga. So basically a lot of nothing happens. Seth manages to escape the tombstone, leading to this classic call from Michael Cole.
They're going to put Rollins away and win the championship. Rollins though.
Kane and Seth try to put each other through the announce tables, but much like Brock Lesnar for most of the year, it doesn't work. Seth gets the 17th finisher of the match, but does it work? Does it fuck? We should just start calling them nearlies, because they only ever seem to nearly finish a match these days.
Demon Kane!
Jerry Lawler. He thinks demons are keen. You know, neat and stuff. Seth hits the pedigree and gets the win. Nice to see Seth getting a clean victory for once. I can't wait to see how the rest of his title reign plays out. I'm sure he'll have a leg up on the competition. Returning to our panel of has-beens and never-wases, Corey Graves announces that you may as well just announce him the director of operations because Kane is out of a job. Booker T then tears off his suit and charges at Graves, repeatedly stabbing him until there's nothing left but a quivering mass of tattooed flesh. Don't talk about applying for jobs around Booker. He will straight up murder you. A commercial for Hulu is rudely interrupted by Ryback and Kevin Owens having a match for the interchangeable title. Kevin Owens retains his title after a pop-up superbomb, and then there's another commercial for Breaking Ground, which ends with William Regal saying,
"It's not a job, it's a lifestyle."
Look, man, this is not time for you to, try to get a job, all right? Keep the one you got right now before you end up getting fired.
He said it wasn't a job, Booker. No, put down the gun! The Hell in a Cell is lowered one final time, and then Michael Cole describes the WWE writer's office the day after a pay-per-view.
A fortress whose very name conjures up images of fear and desperation.
Brock Lesnar makes his way inside the cell, and JBL conjures up the perfect comparison.
Like a caged animal in a cage. That's appropriate.
Yes, despite all his rage, he is still just a caged rat in a cage. In a cage. There is a bong, and then smoke begins pouring into the arena. Meanwhile, Rob Van Dam gets very upset and considers suing The Undertaker for gimmick infringement. But then he ultimately forgets that he's going to do that, because he's high and shit. Brock Lesnar and Undertaker have a knockdown, drag-out brawl, the likes of which we haven't seen in the better part of 10 years, leaving both men with crimson masks of blood on their face. This is exactly what people have paid to see, a vicious, unyielding fight between two men who want to leave nothing left in the ring. So of course Vince sends out a doctor to check on them to make sure they're not bleeding too much. After all, we wouldn't want them to get hurt when they're trying to hurt each other, would we?
Look at Brock Lesnar, he looked like chiseled out of stone.
Oh right, like one of those stones that bleeds a lot. Turns out we've been using the phrase like trying to get blood out of a stone wrong. It's actually very easy. Brock hits Undertaker with all of his nearlies, but he keeps kicking out. Then he tears the cover off the ring mat and reveals Tim Robbins' escape tunnel from Shawshank. Also, wood. Taker regains control and tombstones Brock onto the exposed wood, but for some reason having his head gently placed near a hard surface doesn't put Brock away. Meanwhile, Jerry Lawler has decided to Netflix and chill with JBL.
This guy's superhuman. Which one?
Taker tries to nail Baroque again, but it's not like trying to draw blood from a stone, so he finds it too difficult, giving Baroque the opportunity to hit Undertaker right in the double specials. And then he F5s Taker onto the wood, so it's poetic justice, because Baroque wins the match using the exact same tactics that The Undertaker used on him.
Brock Lesnar with a cover out like this!
Which is apparently hugely unfair of him. After the match, The Undertaker slowly struggles to his feet, while the crowd gives him a standing ovation.
Come on, let's help will The Undertaker to his feet!
That's right, folks. We have to believe in The Undertaker. Come on, clap your hands if you believe in undead funeral directors who enjoy Limp Bizkit music. No, I'm having a hard time doing it myself. Without any warning, the Wyatt family show up after the match and beat the tar out of The Undertaker. But it's okay, because there's an entire locker room full of wrestlers who have a motivation to help The Undertaker, including his brother Kane, who's definitely in the building and available to save him, so of course nobody comes to his aid. They just stand backstage going, oh, that's unfortunate. The Wyatts carry The Undertaker out of the arena in a mockery of his funeral march. Meanwhile, JBL finishes his Netflix queue with a screening of The Last Airbender.
Disgusting. What are they doing? The worst things I've ever seen in my life.
Next time, Jables, don't use Max to get your Netflix recommendations. Doesn't work. Well, with The Undertaker out of the picture, I'm sure the WWE will be looking for someone to fill his spot. And you know, I wouldn't mind having a job with the WWE. I mean, it's always been a dream of mine, so maybe I'll send my resume in and... Well, no, Booker, I'm just thinking about applying for a job. No, please, no. After they take his lunch money, Tom Phillips tries appealing to the school bullies by using popular lingo such as tubular man and whoa. What? Fuck, dropped my phone.